So let's get right into it. We're going to explore what it really means to follow the Machiavellian path to power. And look, when I say Machiavellian, I'm not talking about being a villain for the sake of it. Not at all. We're talking about a cold, hard, strategic mindset. This is all about flipping the script, transforming yourself from someone who just waits for things to happen into the person that things happen because of. It's about becoming a force of nature, not by being the loudest person in the room, but through sheer, unbreakable focus.
And this quote, this is the absolute core of the entire philosophy. It's a fundamental shift, right? Moving away from emotional, knee-jerk reactions and towards cold, calculated action. It's about swapping out pleading for power and ditching the need to justify yourself for an aura of mystery.
What we're going to do in this explainer is walk through the 5 stages of that exact transformation. It's a journey, from needing everyone else's approval to achieving total personal power. And it all kicks off with a really brutal truth.
Okay, stage 1. This is the wake-up call. It's harsh, but it's absolutely necessary. You have to radically accept that the world isn't going to reward you for your pain or your neediness. It only rewards one thing, and I mean only one thing: power.
Think about it. We're all conditioned from day one to believe that if we're suffering, someone should show us compassion. But the cold, hard reality? It's just different. Your pain doesn't summon a savior. It actually presents an opportunity for you to save yourself. Waiting around for someone else? That's the trap. And you know what keeps us stuck in that trap? It's what the source material calls approval addiction. It's this deep, nagging need for other people to validate us. It's a kind of sickness that pretends to be kindness or empathy, but really it just keeps you weak, predictable, and, well, easy to control. You see, accepting your own solitude isn't some tragedy. It has nothing to do with being lonely. It's that critical moment when you finally take back your power and realize that the only person who needs to sign off on your journey is you.
All right, so let's get into the first real strategic move on this path. Once you've cut those ropes of validation, you don't just stand there. No, you execute a controlled strategic retreat. In other words, you disappear.
And let's be crystal clear about what focus means in this context. This is not about self-care days or lighting some candles and journaling. No way. This is an aggressive, isolating process. It's about forging an entirely new you in total silence. And that means finally confronting every single weakness you've been running away from. So you see, this isn't some gentle, gradual evolution. It's a violent transformation. It's about systematically killing the version of yourself that was built on waiting for permission so you can give birth to a new version, one that's built on pure will. And boom, that's the whole strategy in a nutshell. Your disappearance becomes your greatest weapon. You're not actually gone. You're just off the grid, sharpening the blade. The confusion people feel about where you went, that becomes the perfect camouflage for your transformation.
So, you've disappeared.
Now what? Well, now the real war begins. And this isn't just about, working hard. This is about forging an unbreakable, almost inhuman level of discipline. Look, the thinking here is incredibly direct. You don't build a life that runs on a fickle, fleeting emotion like motivation. That's a recipe for failure. Instead, you build a personality that runs on discipline, so that motivation becomes completely, totally irrelevant. You just act. Whether you feel like it or not doesn't even enter the equation. And this is where you have to get brutally honest with yourself. It forces you to confront all those tiny little negotiations we have in our heads every single day. You know the ones, I'm just too tired, or, I'll do it tomorrow. Discipline is the art of ending those negotiations for good.
See, discipline isn't about adding a few good habits to your routine. It's about the ruthless, systematic elimination of your own weakness. It's a destructive force, and it's aimed squarely in all the parts of you that are holding you back.
So, after all that isolation, after being forged in the fire of discipline, you re-emerge. But let's be very clear about something. This isn't some feel-good comeback story for people to cheer about. This is a quiet, almost unnerving takeover. This slide really just lays out the whole evolution of where your power comes from. You start out needing everyone else's validation, then you create confusion by disappearing, and finally, you command respect without saying a single word. You become unexplainable. And that right there is the end result of this whole transformation. Your presence alone makes other people check themselves. Your silence dominates a room more powerfully than their noise ever could. You're not walking in hoping to fit in anymore. The environment now has to fit itself around you. So here it is. This is the ultimate litmus test of your transformation. Ask yourself this:
Does the environment bend to your presence? Does the whole vibe of the conversation shift when you arrive? If it does, you've made the leap. If not, well, the work continues.
Okay, on to the final phase. This is about taking all that personal power and leveling it up into true sovereignty. How? By building systems of influence that work for you without your constant effort.
At this stage, the goal shifts completely. You see, a worker is basically a slave to the machine they've built for themselves. But a kingdom builder, they design a machine that makes their presence a strategic choice, not a daily requirement. It's about building in a way that allows you to become absent. Real legacy isn't about having statues built in your honor or your name in history books. It's about creating ideas and structures so powerful that they keep shaping decisions long after anyone's forgotten your name. It's about influence, not fame.
And that brings us to this final provocative question. It really forces us to think about the ultimate goal of all this focus, all this discipline. Is the point to become the indispensable center of everything? Or is it to build something so strong, so powerful, that it doesn't even need a center anymore? That's true freedom.